listening to the Decarbonisation Dialogue, a podcast from Salix.
Welcome to the Decarbonisation Dialogue. I am Hannah Walker, and I believe that the best way to communicate a message is by being passionate about what you are talking about. Thank you very much to Tudor Baker today for joining me. Tudor is Director of Greater Manchester Community Renewables Limited. It's a community benefit society, and I know we're going to be hearing a lot more about that, but it was set up and run by volunteers to install community-owned renewable energy across Greater Manchester. Its job is to raise funds to install solar panels on schools and community buildings, helping them save money, reduce their carbon footprint, and inspire children and the community to learn about energy and climate change. So far, I believe, and I'm sure Tudor will correct me, the Greater Manchester Community Renewables has installed solar arrays on around 8 primary schools, 7 in Salford and 1 in Bury, and a secondary school in Timperley and a community centre in Partington. The panels are held for the benefit of the community, and any surpluses go back into the Greater Manchester Community Renewables Limited Community Fund, I'm trying to avoid acronyms, to support local carbon reduction, energy efficiency and environmental education projects. So welcome to Tudor.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Let's start. Can you tell us a little bit about your own journey and how you got to be here?
Absolutely, yeah. So my own journey personally was really learning about climate change during university. I studied climate change at Leeds University about 10 years ago. Feels like yesterday, but time flies, doesn't it? I graduated with a degree and learned about the issues with the way the world is going, basically, as we all have over the last 10, 15 years. And since moving to Manchester, I've been sort of committed to try and make a difference, try and make an impact and change things as best I can in our environment. And one of the ways that I saw that I could really make a difference was through getting involved with Greater Manchester Community Renewables. And I think I share that with other people who get involved. Is one of the key reasons we do that is because the impact of the Greater Manchester Community Renewables is quite tangible over the last, since we formed 10 years ago. And that's really inspiring. And that really gives me sort of, really energizes me to get involved and to keep working hard to put solar panels on the roofs to reduce carbon emissions and to sort of share the wealth of community energy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's explain this very simply, because many of people will not have heard of community energy. Can you explain in really simple terms what is Greater Manchester Community Renewables and why does it matter? I mean, we've talked a little bit about the importance of spreading that message out into the community, but why is this important?
I'll start with community energy. It's a hugely interesting area and something I'm super passionate about. And anyone who's involved with community energy is very passionate about it because they really see it as a catalyst for systemic change within our energy system. I think everyone in the UK, around maybe Western Europe, around the world, in fact, knows that the energy system does not benefit everybody equally. It favours big companies. It is very vulnerable. Just only recently we're realising how vulnerable we are. Remember the war when Russia invaded Ukraine. It sent energy markets skyrocketing and things like that. But community energy is a way to say, hang on a minute, that doesn't have to be the way things are. We can reclaim that energy. We can generate energy ourselves, and we can actually own that energy in a community way. One of the models we've taken at GMCR is to buy and raise capital for solar panels, put them on school roofs, and then ourselves and our members own those renewable assets. And then that means that all of the profits and all of the benefits of those energy generation, those power stations on the roofs, if you call it that, all those benefits can be felt by the community. It's not being sucked up into a board. It's not being sent to shareholders in far-flung countries. Community energy, at its essence, brings that energy system right back onto the ground level and reclaims it within the community in which it exists, which I think personally is kind of thrilling. And it's been great to see the growth of the sector over the past few years, and we're continuing to see that grow at the moment as well.
And those benefits, hence the fact that it's going back, hence why you're not putting those panels on commercial premises. When you talk about the wider impact and benefits, can you give me some concrete examples about that? We know that children are learning about climate change. We know this is their future. We know that's important. But what are the tangible benefits today, other than obviously the big issue of electricity prices?
Yeah. So you mentioned at the start, one of the key reasons we do this is, and the reasons we actually target and we do it on schools, is because schools can't raise the capital. Schools are stretched. We all know that. By providing a way to give the capital for them to put the solar panels on the roof, A, the schools don't have to find the capitals themselves, which they struggle to do, and two, it means that they're able to feel the benefits financially of those solar panels. And it's actually one of the biggest draws to schools, obviously the climate issue, but they're going to save thousands of pounds on their energy bills. We estimate that we've saved the schools who we put solar panels on up to around £200,000 on their bills since we came into operation. I mean, that is a staggering amount of money, and you can just imagine the amount of things that money can buy in a school. And the schools that we work with and that we put solar panels on will continue to feel those benefits all the time, and they'll continue to be able to put money back into their schools on things like books, on teaching resources, on teachers themselves. There's schools who have to lay people off because they don't have the money, just because the energy prices are going up. It's a scandalous situation if you think about it, really. So we allow the schools to have that bit more, give the schools a little bit more money back, and we're able to do that because we can actually charge the school a lower rate for the energy once the solar panels are on there. It's beneficial to them to do that, because even though we own the solar panels, we can still sell the energy to them at a lower rate.
Yes. And have you actually heard that example of being able to, I love the idea of being able to plough that back into books, but an extra teaching assistant, for example, can make all the difference to a child's life. That's a reality, is it? That some of that money could.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way to. Yeah, that's if schools are saving money in one area, then they can put the money towards other things in another area as well. Another way that this really does have a tangible difference on schools, and one thing we're super proud of, and again, this comes back to the reason why community energy is so useful and so great for the schools and for everyone involved, is that we have the GMCR Community Fund, the Great Manchester Community Renewables Community Fund. So that's a fund which is made up of the surplus money that we make, and schools can bid into that to get to do environmental projects in their schools, and the schools have done that in areas where we've worked. They've applied for money to install energy efficiency improvements, LED lights and things like that. They've also done it to fund environmental education, build bird boxes, improve the school grounds, those kind of things. And we've got examples of where schools have applied for that money, and we're constantly receiving applications from our schools to use that money to improve their school and to teach about the benefits of environmental education.
How does that community ownership change the story, do you think, to a private energy company installing the same panels? It's quite a story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a brilliant story. And for me, when I talk about this, because I go to a lot of events and catching people on the street and talking to them about it. And to be honest, it's one of the easiest things to ever sell, because it's just when people start understanding it, they think, well, yeah, obviously you're going to do that. Obviously, you're going to invest your money in that. It just makes sense. It's schools are there to provide a public function to everybody, but they have no money to install solar panels, so they can't do it. So then they have to pay the market rate for energy. We go, hang on a minute. No, why don't we all pool together here, put in the money for the solar panels, install them. The school can get a reduced rate on their energy. And, oh yeah, by the way, because we're still making a little bit of money as the energy provider, we can pay that investment back. Anything you put in, we'll pay that back over 20 years with 5% interest. It's a win-win-win. No one's losing out on that. And the only people who are losing out are the big energy companies. I don't think many people lose much sleep from that. So, as I say, it's a really great story about, reclaiming it. And it's, as I say, it's such an easy sell when you start explaining it to people.
But tell us a little bit about, I don't find finance as simple, and most people probably don't either. Explain where that funding comes from, because as you say, that model, it seems that it comes from the heart, an inspiration, but practically, where is this money coming from? How are you raising these funds, which is making such a difference? Yeah.
So what we do, and a lot of community energy organizations around the country will do, is they will open what's called a share offer. And that's where, as a community benefit society, we say, okay, we're going to open a share offer for 2 months, and you have the opportunity to invest and become a member of GMCR, because we need capital at the moment to put solar panels onto a school. This happened last year in 2025. We had a few schools who approached us, and we were ready to put solar panels on there. And we said, okay, right, hang on a minute, right, we need £200,000 of funding. So what we say is, okay, we're going to open up a share offer for 2 months. You've got that much time to invest in GMCR and become a member. And everyone who invest, no matter how much you invest, you get one, you get that many shares, but you become a member of GMCR. And then we use that capital, once that's in our bank, to put the solar panels onto the roof. And any members who are part of that, who invested in that share offer, will then be paid interest for the next 20 years on that as well. And that's how we operate it as a business. That's how we attract the investment.
What do you think the biggest barrier to kind of scaling that is? Or is there a big barrier? Well, there must be the challenges.
One thing you'd initially think is that, okay, hang on a minute, people are going to run out of money in the community, but actually we don't see that. We actually see that whenever we open a share offer, it's really heartening to see how many people reinvest. They say, wow, I've got extra money. You might hear it in the media about people, or, people will say people in the UK have too much money in current accounts. They're the kind of, that's the kind of thing which this is actually perfect for. It says, actually, you can put money into it, invest it in your local community and make interest on it. It's not just going to lose value from being in sat in a current account. And I think in terms of rolling it out, in terms of scaling up for us, it comes down to a few more technical things around the policy environment. Things like grid connections, legal challenges. Once you start getting into the detail, it does become quite complex. And I think if we could smooth those areas out, make it a bit easier for people to enter into community on it. For instance, if it was easier to share energy from one school, if one school could, during summer, for instance, if you put solar panels on a school aren't using that energy, but the current market, the current way the grid is set up, it's actually physically impossible for you to sell that energy to like a neighbour or someone nearby. The grid just won't allow it. And everyone's looking like, why is it the case? So we've got these old systems that we use. It's the same old story. We've got in the UK, we've got these outdated systems, and we want to see those things change to make it smoother. And I'm sure that would help make things easier and allow us to scale up.
So a lot of work in the background in trying to turn things away and turn things around, and a bit like a huge oil tanker, isn't it? It's trying to shift people's perceptions and ideas. But one thing for sure is people are obviously investing because they think they're going to get something back, but actually it's a really good thing to invest in. Now, the children, I know they care deeply about the planet, and obviously it's all about their future. And you mentioned you go and do a lot of visits, you get out and about, chat to people. How do you talk to the children about what's happening? Do they care about the solar panels, do you think, on their roof? Do they care about where their energy is coming from?
Anyone who works with children, and children especially who've been educated on climate change, will know that they're the first people to tell you what to do with your money and your solar panels. They know exactly what's going on. They're often a lot more direct than we are as adults about what should be on their school. So, whenever we have the conversation with students, it's really inspiring to see. And when we opened our largest solar panel installation at Wellington Secondary School a couple of years ago, the Eco Council was there at the launch to sort of welcome it and sort of say how proud they were and how happy they were, because it was something which they came up with initially in one of their eco club meetings. They said, why we've got this huge roof, why don't we have solar panels? So the students, the pupils who know about it and who learn about climate change, but they're always so inspired to know that the school has been powered by solar energy, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Indeed. Well, it was a bit of a silly question, really. I was interested to see what you said, because I'm lucky enough to go into quite a few schools as well, because obviously we work in delivering decarbonisation on behalf of government, and we go into a lot of schools. And you're absolutely right. The children know it's not just about switching off lights, but they understand whether they're using an air source heat pump, a ground source heat pump. They've been involved in the project from the start, and they're really curious about all things energy.
We make sure that when we put an install in, that we have readable meters.
Yes.
For people to go and have a look at, so they can see on a real time basis actually what the energy is being generated,
yes.
Which obviously brings it to life. And then we have an app which anyone can go on and see the data that's being generated. So, it's about bringing it to life and as you say, pupils love that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And taking those messages, and they take those messages home. And I know that one child said to me that he was constantly telling his sister off because she didn't open the curtains and let the daylight in, and preferred to put her light on because he was going around the house switching off the light.
They explain things in the simplest terms. Sometimes the simplest terms are the best. Yeah.
Okay, so from your experience, hugely experienced in this area and seeing local action, passion translated into action, into something really tangible, making a difference. And you've actually found a way to make money out of this as well and put back into the community. But from your experience, do you think local action is more powerful than national climate policy? Or do we need both of those working together?
We all obviously need both of them working together. And actually, it's really positive to see the movements of the newish Labour government, who have been really keen on community energy more so than previous governments. And the recent local power plan, they committed £1 billion towards community energy, which is huge. And I think it was about 1,000 community groups, community energy company and organisations they want to support. That's fantastic. For me, and for anyone who's involved with community energy, the benefit of community energy is being able to get stuck into local level action. It's been able to make a difference in your area and on climate change. If national government can create an environment where that's even easier, then I think that can only be a good thing. It's only going to be better for that, because it will mean that more people can get involved with community energy and more people can direct their energy on this area, on this issue, on climate change, because a lot of it's all out there, isn't it? It's all China and America and, global warming and those kind of things. And you think, actually, what can I do in my area? I feel a bit powerless, perhaps. So community energy allows you the opportunity to do that. The more that national government realises that and makes it easier for community energy to flourish, then the more that people will be able to direct their passion into it.
And literally putting the power back into the communities, and because we see such kind of doom stories, don't we, when we look at the news in terms of what's happening with climate emergencies. But actually, this is giving people the ability to make a difference in that way.
Yeah.
Now,
exactly.
You've obviously got the knowledge, you've got the skills there in Manchester. And there are other community energy projects. But if every town in the UK had what you have there, and I appreciate that you want to grow and expand, and there's obviously always more work and more schools you want to work with. But if every town in the UK had a community energy group like yours, what difference do you think that would make?
I think it would make a huge difference in terms of people being engaged with their local area, being engaged with the community. By financially having a stake in assets that are in the community, it means you're part of that community. It means you have you're deepening your roots there. And I think if everyone had that in every town, then I think that would be a fantastic benefit to them, because it would allow them, it would give them more say and more interest in that area, more so than you do at the moment. Because at the moment, you live somewhere, things happen, your schools go up, roads and decisions are made without you necessarily feeling like you're part of it. Whereas if you can invest in physical assets to go on a school, and let's say, for instance, the policy arena did change, and actually you were able to benefit from local, a large renewable scheme that was nearby, you would actually feel it financially as well. And I think that the more we see it, the more mainstream it becomes, I think the benefits to people would start becoming actually not just about being, empowered. It would about becoming financially. You'd be able to benefit from that, from seeing the difference on your energy bills. But for our members, the benefit is getting that return on investment, which they do year on year. Are
you finding that people and groups around the country, or just people just testing the water, coming to you and asking you for advice and picking your brains?
We have a lot of people coming to us and just asking for advice and things like that. I mean, I think it's changing now. We're 10 years old. 10 years ago, solar panels on schools was probably quite novel at the time. Solar panels on a lot of places, a lot of buildings. There's a huge energy around. There's a huge industry around it. Solar panels are a lot cheaper for a start, which makes things easier, and it's just a lot more mainstream. So people do kind of understand the policy and the area. So it's less about that. It's more so about people asking questions about how to make it happen in their area, which obviously we're happy to help them.
And what kind of advice do you ask? For example, what kind of question would somebody ask, and what kind of advice would you offer?
One thing I would advise people to do, whoever asks us about community energy, because I know we have solar panels on 11 as of a couple of months ago in the Greater Manchester area, which is a huge geographical area. 3 million people in there. There's thousands of schools in Greater Manchester. So one thing I would say to people is that it is possible, and they can do it, and you can go and do it in any area of the UK, and there are support mechanisms out there. There's an organisation called Community Energy England, and they are the sector lead and sector support for community energy across England, and that'll be similar in the other countries in the United Kingdom. they have a huge amount of support available to anyone who wants to get involved in community energy. They facilitate the Community Energy Fund, which is soon to be the Great British Energy Fund. So that, and we as an organisation have benefited from that. So, there's funding there for people who want to help, who want to start community energy, and Community Energy England and the government now are really keen to see it grow. So we always say to people, look, if you're interested in it, go online, have a little look, find something that, if there's not something already in your area, which there may already be, have a think about doing something yourself. It's so empowering to be able to say that, you've really made a difference in your area.
So there is support, and there is a lot of obviously learning that over the last decade, as you say, that you're willing to share as other groups are. Absolutely.
We've been in the game for 10 years. You learn a lot over that time. We're always keen to share that information. We do that on our website. We do that through blog posts and through videos. Whenever we can, we're always trying to communicate those stories as well. So have a little look for GMCR, Greater Manchester Community Renewables on social media and online, and people would be able to find a bit of information about what we do. There's some nice videos on there, and so blog posts about what community energy is and how people can start something themselves.
Superb. So look at your website and pick your brains and see what's been done, but also be ambitious for your own area too. And that's really good advice, to look what's happening already, and if there isn't, how about starting something up, because that's exactly what you did a decade ago and have made such a success of it and are making such a difference. Thank you to Tudor Baker, who from the Greater Manchester Community Renewables Limited, for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast channels and email us with your views and news at podcast@salixfinance.co.uk. Thank you once again to Tudor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Decarbonisation Dialogue, a podcast from Salix. For more information about our work and to find more content, please visit salixfinance.co.uk/podcasts.